Are you ready?
Hello everybody, and welcome to the new year, the new nothing else in particular.
New year, new
Weeb
me.
Club.
Okay.
New year, new me.
Okay,
Okay.
dude, this self-centered asshole. What the fuck? I said New Year, new Weeb Club, and this guy's fucking making it all about himself. Actually,
I guess it is a new
toxic.
Weeb Club episode. I was just thinking that it's just, I don't know, it's just also just a normal recording for me, I guess, but, I don't know.
Weeb Club 33. Craftsdwarf's absolutely the type of guy who will go see that like Neil deGrasse Tyson tweet that he makes where he'll be like, oh, New Year's doesn't mean anything. It just means we went around the sun again. And be like, yeah, I do agree with that. New Year's is pointless. And
No, it's
fucking
more
like
just
it and
like-
retweet it.
It's more like, wait, it's been 2 years?
Oh,
since
you mean of the Weeb Club?
No.
No.
I mean of, like, life being weird.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh,
You didn't fucking forget that something pretty important happened a couple of years ago, did you?
yeah. I got it.
You know, and also I have multiple times today thought it was last year. So
Comments.
Woo!
Yeah. Thank you, Nud. I needed that in my veins. I needed the serotonin from that. Okay.
they're long.
We did not get enough comments to get a Nisekoi podcast. That was y'all's one chance for 2021. You will not get a chance till at least July of this year. Y'all failed. No Nisekoi podcast. There were not enough people. The number was 15, by the way. That was the number I set in my head, and we did not hit that.
Wait, what? Wait, on which podcast was that?
The weekly.
It has 23 comments.
Yeah, but I needed 15 comments saying they wanted a Nisekoi podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it did not get that.
Unfortunate.
Well,
It
that
is
means I was
unfortunate.
right about saying it wouldn't happen. I'm pretty sure I said that in the episode. And
Yeah,
you
and if
said
there's
it would
one
happen.
thing I've learned from having to do We're All Normies too, never give the number. Say you have the number in mind, and don't change that number. But if you don't tell them the number, they won't go do it.
Hey, Vindy, when's We're All Normies 3? I'm really
That's
waiting
never
on that.
happening.
What the fuck? I'm literally
1
over
million
here
subs.
waiting for that. Okay, dude.
1 million subs.
Okay, dude.
That's what you get for making me do We're All Normies too.
What the fuck? Because I want my favorite video series to continue.
It's not a series. Stopped at 2. Duology.
I need the trilogy.
If I ever have to make We're All Normies 3, I'm deleting my YouTube account.
At least get I mean, your camera needs some.
Also,
work.
the okay, first of all, toxic. It's actually not the webcam. Ignorant.
Oh, it sounded like
Second
it
of
looked
all,
like the webcam.
ignorant.
Get some
Second
bright,
of all,
shining lights in your face.
I couldn't do a We're All Normies 3 right away. Part of the reason that one worked was because it was 3 years after the first We're All Normies, so I look way different. So I can't
Look
do
at
it
this
again
child.
till I'm at least 26.
Okay.
I see.
I don't fucking remember what these comments said because I haven't looked at them in days. But I do remember seeing fucking the one guy with Japanese words in his fucking shit in his name with 33. Like 33 after them. Hold on, let me fucking skim this shit real
He was
quick.
talking about the joy of weekly reading as having something to look forward to reading every week.
Oh, I feel like he left a different comment.
Then he
that
said,
I-
when a series is done, you can go back and read it as a full piece to fully appreciate it. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that and are too short-sighted, which leads to shit opinions and bad faith discussion.
Oh yeah. It was
Then
the
he told us
chill
to cool it with the armchair
So,
psychology.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
the part. See, I don't fully disagree with that, but I don't fucking remember what I wanted to say about that. I don't know. You make a point. You were
I don't
doing
remember
most
what
of
I
that, Vindy Vondo.
Oh, I think it makes for good discussion. We're making a boogeyman. I don't give a fuck.
It was 2 weeks ago. I don't fucking remember.
Like, ultimately, like, if people, like, the thing is, right, if people are gonna be offended by the shit we're saying on the Weeb Club about, like, how people are dog shit stupid about media, They're gonna do that anyways. They're gonna be upset because I said MHA. Like, people have commented it before, right? Over simple shit like me saying Horikoshi doesn't miss. People have been like, I think Horikoshi misses, and I think the newest MHA chapters are bad. They're gonna get fucking offended anyways. I don't give a shit what they say. You know, I'm not even being offensive. So they're getting offended and they're gonna be mad. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing with that is like, you might be taking it too literal, because it's like I don't think Vindy literally thinks that they're like 14-year-olds when he was like talking about the Origairu thing, I think. And when we do that, I don't think we literally think everyone is like what we're saying. Oh,
now I get what you're. Yeah. That's just funny. Like, I'm just making. I'm just trying to be funny. I'm not trying to make an actual point that like, oh, they were bullied at 14. It's just funny to insult people who are dumb, and like I think it's really funny to like make up this whole life for them that just leads to them being dog shit stupid, right? But like
having this one specific, very personal, very negative take, right? Or like
yeah,
or something.
Yeah. Like you get really, really into it to just like ultimately end at the conclusion that like they're dumb, and I personally think that's fucking funny. So that's why I do that. That's like the only reason. It's not to try to actually be an armchair psychologist. It's funny. Because, and here's why it's so funny. Okay, there's the last thing I'll say about this. Here's why it's so funny. Because someone's going to hear that, and that's going to describe them, and they're the only people that actually get upset by it. Everyone else, it just like goes over them. It's like water to a duck. They don't care. But the one person that I'm perfectly describing they're seething. They're coping with anger. And then they oust themselves.
Well, like if
by
you make
complaining.
like a goofy, ridiculous thing, and people like connect to that on some level, then that's funny, I guess. Like, because
that makes it even better.
They feel attacked, right? I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, how dare you say I failed my algebra test? It was my English quiz. Like, they're just making themselves into the clouds. It's great. It's funny.
I guess the next comment I have is Dot leaving the I don't want a Nisekoi podcast, so this counts as -1 to the number.
I counted it as one of them.
Other comments.
But I counted both of those no Nisekoi ones as one. Like each your one. Let me go ahead and count through. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 6, so yeah, it wasn't enough. Also, can we talk about this Luna comment that
I was
left
about to
7 days ago?
Kill yourself. I mean that with 100%, with 1,000%.
Holy shit. Toxic. If you are feeling suicide thoughts, please call a suicide prevention hotline.
Unless you're Luna, in which case
oh my God.
the number is good luck.
Look,
well, he says Zendaya is a 4.
I know he doesn't actually believe that she's as low as a 4, because he always does this shit where he goes so extreme in the negative direction toward typically black women, and he's just fucking trolling. There's no way a real human being can think that.
Well, it's also funny because I couldn't imagine calling her a 4, but then being the levels of unbelievably down bad he is.
Oh no! Didn't Luna, like, I was laughing at it because it's like it's almost time for my first come of the new year, and I'm like, that made me laugh.
Well,
yeah, Luna's also fucking said that. Oh, give me the numbers of Dot's witch mom, or certain Discord member in our server who kind of sounds like a girl, kind of sort of. He made a joke of I'll even take their numbers.
Yeah, let's just say Zendaya is not a 4. He's just wrong. Like, I feel like that's just objectively untrue. Krauss might agree because she's a real woman, so 5 is the highest that they can get. So he's essentially giving her an 8 by giving her a 4. But, yeah, no, Luna dumb. I think
give her
none.
A 3 for 3D. Pig disgusting.
You know what? I will respect that, I guess.
See that Luna, like he went low, but he didn't go low enough to be funny. Is the problem? That's the real issue.
No, because he's being not funny. He's just racist. And then Dot says your brain is unbelievably large. Like, okay. I don't think there's any other comments that I want to bring up.
There's some good ones, but I'm ready to move on to Naruto.
The Naruto podcast came out. It was a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, it was good.
I couldn't believe it.
Good discussion.
Who are you?
Now I get to.
No. Why? Why must you hurt me this way?
He's hateful. I was gonna say now I finally get to watch more Naruto.
I watched more today.
Yeah.
Pause.
I did like the Trashiki comment where he mentions like in order to stop Zabuza, Naruto literally had to turn into a ninja tool, but he actually does it by turning into a human. And then obviously they were less focused on killing Zabuza and more focused on saving Kakashi, which neat little details that fit just again what you're talking about, how like there's so many ideas that are explored throughout the whole series that Land of Waves like introduces and really well. Like Land of Waves is fucking good.
Very epic and pogger.
I agree. Spoon's comment very good. Because he says Santa deniers in the mud right now, and I agree with that. How can you think Santa's not real when he came from heaven and edited the video for Nunmanji? Wait, the North Pole. Santa doesn't live in heaven. Shit. He came down from the North Pole and handed Nun a flash drive.
Santa died? Why would you
handed Nun a flash drive with fucking the podcast edited on it. That was Santa, not Nun. Thank you, Santa.
Can't believe Santa's fucking dead.
I can't fuck that guy.
There's 2 posts on the Reddit if you guys forgot to open.
Wait, there
that.
are 2?
Yep. Yeah, there are 2.
Yeah, that's right. No, one of them. The first one was posted like 15 minutes after we stopped recording the last episode or something.
First time seeing
it was. Yeah, I know, but it's just like I just thought it was funny because it's like, damn, if you posted that a little bit earlier, it's just
Oh, that's so. It took me so long to figure that out.
Okay, dude. Yeah, motorcycle guy.
I thought it was a joke about. I thought no, you're right, but I was trying to figure out why, because it was in like the seat that what used to sit in. So I was like, what is happening? I was just confused, and then I finally put it together. Like, oh, it's motorcycle guy.
Yeah, the secret 4th member of the podcast.
He truly is.
Kind of an iconic image right there.
It's so powerful. Anyway, and the second one is, I guess, I was like excited about something because I went, ooh. Thing.
Funny monkey. Monkey pog.
All right.
We are now, going to...
Oh, before we get into the topic, actually, so as of a few days ago, the poll for the seasonal show that we will talk about in place about Blue Period is up. It will end a few days after the recording, or after not the recording, after this episode goes up. So if you, I think most people have voted on it, but if you haven't and you're a patron and you want to vote on it, be sure to do so before Friday.
Seasonal L.
And if you want to make us watch something, be sure to give us money and then your vote, right? That's what America needs to start doing. That's what real taxes should be. We take your money and then you get to vote.
Okay. So you want to explain the topic, since I believe you suggested it.
I did suggest it, but I suggested it because okay, what the fuck was that?
It wasn't me.
Craftsdwarf,
I know that was Nun. Only Nun would make that noise. I know it was him.
That was obviously Craftsdwarf.
Okay. You realize Crafts edits it, right? And he can see whose audio it
Okay, he's just gonna fucking put his audio on my track so it makes it seem like that was me.
But that won't show for the audience. I don't need to do that.
No, you'll take a picture of it.
That would require more editing than Crafts wants to do.
Agreed.
Okay, so I got the topic from watching my good friend Craftsdwarf's new video, in which the video wasn't about this topic, but it made me think of it because he was talking about is Kill la Kill a magical girl series? Good video. You should go watch it.
It's okay.
And in that video, he makes a point where he's talking about things that influenced
Kill la Kill. Like, I assume you mean like the pink violence films, right?
Well, yeah. So you talked about pink violence films, and part of what you talked about with them was that they used sexuality as a
some characters might use that as a weapon, or it's definitely like, you know, commenting on.
Well, no, I even mean the sexuality being like the way you described it made it sound like the sexuality being used in the film is done as an empowering. Like, it's done in an empowering sense instead of
countercultural of, like, you know, these bad systems and domineering, you know, fascists. Yeah, like, obviously it's the movie that I watched for a fucking school, but some fascism is a bit extreme. Still, yeah.
Right. So it's you know, like, in some ways it's being used to empower more than just like there is like a as like the male gaze, I guess.
Yeah.
And so then that got me thinking, and obviously this isn't all sexuality.
Films, yeah.
Right. And obviously this isn't all, you know, ways that sexuality is used in Japanese media, but I did think it got me thinking about how different sexuality is in Japanese culture. And so even then to bring up Kill la Kill, like, it's seen as empowering, right? When Riko kind of accepts that her tits and ass are going to be out.
Yes, because how I understand it is just like I've heard Japan described as like a very shame-based culture where like how you are perceived by others and just general conformity is pretty important. So that, you know, like Ryuko is, you know, like, yeah, part of her arc in episode 3 is not feeling shameful about her, you know, physical body that exists, and you know, like, it's just a part of her, and that, you know, right, so
Yeah, so I guess, you know, I mean, obviously much farther outside of just Kill la Kill, but I did want to just mainly talk about then, you know, about how I think sexuality is used in anime and manga, but not just how it's used. Also, I think like more specifics in terms of like you know, like what it represents and cultural differences that cause when people look at sexuality in anime, it is one way and it's very different, right? Like, you know, you have a pervy characters video where you talk about that. I just thought it was an interesting topic. So.
Right. And of course, like, I think the reason it's different at least makes a lot of sense once you consider that, like, you know, East Asian media is drawn from like East Asian like culture, and which has a long history dating back, where like I think with a lot of like American like, I think a really good example of like an easy way to see how different they are is just look at like character designs, because I feel like in Western animation a lot of art styles tend to lean towards making the characters as like unattractive as possible, or at least in regards to like sexuality. Like when I think of like there's lots of exaggeration, but it's not like, you know, I don't know, like especially in exaggerating like cases like Big Mouth, which just is purposely like a show that looks like gross, right? And obviously I think, you know, once you go like, oh yeah, you know, East Asia didn't have to have like a lot of Christian Puritanism that was very kind of, you know, anti-sex, anti-sexuality, very like repress that aspect and demonize it in a sense, you know, where, you know, because not all you know, like Roman and Greek culture, which also predated Christianity, also had a lot of like more acceptance of sex and sexuality. So I think it makes sense that like people especially experience the anime for the first time and seeing just like, you know, sexual harassment just kind of happen, and, you know, not understanding both, you know, there's issues with that in Japan, but also just like the you know, the divide between fiction and reality, and how like the fiction, like the language that it's used. Like that's my perfect character video, basically, where I refer to this article that talks about how you know, it's a way to laugh at the audience and their own fantasies and stuff. You know, for thinking that in the first place, even though it's wrong. And, you know, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, well, I think you touched on, just like for a second there, like, I think a big thing that is very helpful to establishing, like, that difference, which is religion, right? Where a large part of Western religion, modern Western religion, even if you personally aren't, or modern Western culture, I mean, even if you aren't religious, is Christianity and the influence it had over England, over America, over Europe as a whole, right? Like its importance can't be, you know, like understated, and because a large part of that is very puritanical and was for a long time, that causes, you know, things like sex to be very looked down on, right? And it's even interesting how it's like, you know, violence for us is like no big, even in like kids shows, but like sex is
I saw
not.
Yes, You reminded me of there was like a Hannibal, like so the TV show Hannibal. I think it's only PG-14. Like it could be shown maybe, and like there was some really gory like murder scenes because people, serial killers would fucking make art of bodies, and it's really grotesque. But they had to censor the nipple on a fucking famous piece of art because so it's like I've seen those kind of jokes a lot where it's like gore and violence, and that doesn't matter how bad it is. It's perfectly fine, but a nipple, oh nope, too bad. Nope, it can't. It's too lewd. It'll corrupt the children. Like it's just so silly, honestly. Where obviously, and especially like comparing children's media, like there's like To Love Ru and Yunnan Honda Hot Spring and Ayakashi Triangle are all these like series aimed at preteens and are really lots of sexuality, right? And
right, and I think that even goes into an interesting thing that you also kind of brought up when you mentioned that design the cartoon designs we see for the most part aren't supposed to be, they're supposed to have sexuality taken out, right?
Right.
And I think there's very few you can look at, especially in like modern times in America, where cartoon characters are drawn to actually be like sexually attractive.
Yeah, and it definitely exists, like Ion Flux.
Oh yeah,
and,
My Little Pony.
Lola Bunny.
Yeah,
in
okay.
the first Space Jam. Jessica Rabbit from
that one like
Who Framed
not
Roger
even a
Rabbit.
meme. Yeah. Betty Boop is a character who I wouldn't consider attractive, but I guess I don't know.
I feel like she was
classic.
supposed to be kind of sexualized for sure.
I'm sorry, Craftsdwarf.
What?
Did you just say that me saying Lola Bunny being hot was a
he was talking
meme?
about-
Betty Boop?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought because I said Lola Bunny and then you said, or when I said Jessica Rabbit, you said that's a character that wasn't a meme. So I thought you were implying
No,
that
I was
me saying. Okay.
I brought up Betty Boop because that's Jessica Rabbit interacted with Betty Boop in the movie, I'm pretty sure, so that just made me think of her basically.
Yeah.
Is the food good, Vindy?
Sorry.
Now I have to keep it in. Fuck. Oh no.
Okay, so yeah, and so I think that that is a very big difference where a lot of like the popular anime that like I think you could talk about as being like defining for the medium as a whole feature attractive characters designed to be attractive from the beginning. And I think when you think of a lot of Western animation, like even like because like like the princess movies, the princesses weren't made to be sexually attractive, right? They're very supposed to be like these beautiful princess, but they're not. They are drawn very there
are some like Pocahontas that are a bit more sexual in some ways, but still not like not at the point of like anime for 100%, right?
Right.
Like relatively speaking is more, but no, yeah, it is very like, and think of the children. They can't know that nipples exist, I guess. I don't know. And like shit, I thought I was gonna have a point or I was gonna bring something up, but fuck, I lost it. Never mind. I'll try to remember.
Yeah, Nun, do you have anything to say at all about the topic?
Who are you?
He's Vindy Vondo, the famous YouTuber who made We're All Normies and We're All Normies too.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave.
So is that a no? Or okay.
No, I think that Western media definitely like when it comes to like Disney princesses or like kind of like female characters that girls are supposed to be into. I think they definitely do put some emphasis on their looks, like them being pretty and stuff, but it's more so just kind of like either from just like they're really cute in a way, or like they're supposed to be really fashionable but not like this sexy kind of fashionable,
right?
And I think it kind of and I do think it kind of in some ways would make them more appealing in a different way, where it's like it's very welcoming, I guess, that they're just kind of like in a more fashionable sense, because it's like they want girls to fucking like buy like either accessories related to whatever particular thing it is,
Yeah.
or for like, you know, dolls, and without like sexual stuff in there, it can, you know, it's probably more comfortable. And you know, it would, I guess it's like, you know, it could be like more of a risky kind of thing to make it kind of sexual, like it's just kind of like a fun type thing.
No, yeah. And well, even in Japan, because you just made me realize, and I kind of touched on this in the video, even because I mentioned how, like, you know, like there's characters like Cutie Honey who are like, she's a character in shonen manga, so she is very sexualized and you know, sexually attractive, where that's less common in shoujo manga or properties aimed at girls, which I think, you know, just because, like, you know, that girls aren't as likely to be as interested in, you know, the attractive sexual female form, right? And so like Aikatsu, I brought it up in the video because they're not particularly like sexualized in Aikatsu, but they're, you know, so it's like, you know, just that makes sense as it. So yeah, it makes sense for the Disney princesses to overall like not be, you know, because they're meant to appeal to girls. So yeah, they focus on what girls like, right? In the same way, I guess, is what I was saying.
Yeah. So let me think. Because there was more. Oh, I wanted to go back to, I guess, like the stuff about like using sex and it being like empowering. Because like another character that I think of is like Fujiko Mine, right? Where like I haven't seen a lot of Lupin stuff, but the stuff I have, she's drawn very, you know, like you're supposed to look at her and, you know what I mean, like think about how hot she is. And she uses her sex as a weapon, right? So that's the character using it.
Right.
So the main thing I guess I wanted to say, and I don't want to just repeat myself, which is why like I realized when I started, is that like I think people are too quick, especially in other cultures, to see sex and immediately just complain about it being sexist or bad or whatever, because that's their values,
right,
and not realizing like how different I guess yeah, like how different it is for other cultures, right? Where so in Japan it's seen very differently, and so it's used very differently than it is here. And I think that when you think more about, you know, a lot of the different things that involve sex and sexuality and stuff like that, and perverts and things in Japanese media, if you have better context of what that actually means in their culture,
right,
it can
help
like inform.
That, right?
Yeah.
See, I don't even think it has to be like kind of looking at it, oh, other cultures view it differently. Like some other people view it differently, because it's like,
yes,
I forget where I saw this in particular. But I remember some girl saying something about how like a lot of people will treat her weirdly for the picture she posts on Instagram, and you know, she views it completely differently than they do. Where like, you know, she's just posting a picture because it helps her feel pretty, and no, okay, I remember where this was. It was Ludwig's girlfriend, Cutie Cinderella. I remember her talking about some kind of like her insecurity, and people kind of making it worse because they kind of just assume all these things when she's just posting a picture because she wants to, you know, she wants to feel good. And it's kind of like people kind of just automatically assume when you, like, you know, you put on some makeup and you fucking do these things, you're automatically like attention seeking or you know, kind of potentially a whore or something. So I guess
character based on the platform that she uses and how she uses it, basically. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, yeah, you could even look at that change, I guess, somewhat in America with like with OnlyFans and like the amount of people that are, you know, starting to subscribe to OnlyFans and things like that shows a change into, you know, change towards that or maybe in that direction. But the reason I specifically mentioned another culture, right, is because America was founded on these puritanical values, so people who have them...
No, I get why you said it. I just think, you know, I did want to bring up how, like, you know, other people can view it differently, too, just to, like, you know, make it super...
No, yeah, and another common example is, like, to bring up the male gaze, like, a common criticism against it is that it's just very heteronormative, right? Like, it kind of ignores homosexual or bi perspectives where, you know, girls can also find sexual interest in the female body, right? You know, so, and it's not that, like, we should be critical of, you know, especially cultural more so than, like, because art is just, like, you know, it's a product of the culture and people within it, and can be used as a lens back into the culture. But obviously I think, like, that which directly affects people is more important, like the mindset of an individual, for example, right? Like, you know, people who assume things based on Instagram and how people use it about the person using it without treating them like a person, right? Like, that's more of an issue than this piece of art is kind of sexist, I think, right? So you know, like, because yeah, I just, like, you know, and like, there, you know, there's, like, you know, because art can definitely have, like, shitty female characters and really bad portrayals of, you know, women or femininity and stuff, or dated ones that more, which is, you know, just as likely. Like, I remember Ultraman, the original series, kind of has some weird, like, like, women like Jules, guys don't get it, but girls sure do, and it's like, it's just weirdly, like, condescending, I guess, and I wasn't a fan of it, right? And no, you should be saying, oh wait, Ultraman hates women based, and I'm gonna watch it, or at least Ultra 7. Wink.
Okay, dude, stop trying to trick me into watching Toku.
Look, you like Garo, the first thing he does is beat a woman, so...
Hey, yo!
True.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, and I agree with you that, like, it is fine to be critical. Like, it is good to be critical and to look at things.
But it's also good to be open to various mindsets, right? Or so I assume.
Right. Well, and to also look more at the context behind it. And by the context behind it, I don't even just mean, like, the cultural context or the time period, right? Another thing you can look at is the context within that work itself. So, you know, how is... Like you know, I talked about with Fujiko Mine and with Ryuko in both those instances, inside the context of what the series is about, the sexuality means more than just pandering to an audience, right? And so I think that, like, all of those should be entertained before people go to just, like, criticize sexuality for existing.
Right, because, you know, yeah, I definitely feel like certain takes can kind of feel like you know, based in that Puritanism, where it's just very much like you know, it almost just comes across as anti-sex in general, where, like, you know, at times, and it's just like, that's not helpful. Or and right.
And I want to say, I feel this way about guys too. I've said before, I like when every character in something I'm watching is attractive. That goes for the girls. That goes for the guys. You know, I want everyone to be attractive, right? Like, that is the ideal series for me, is one where everyone is hot in their own way, right? Because people like, even like if you aren't attracted to a gender, like, people like looking at attractive things, right? Like, people are not going to watch streams with a bunch of guys from the World of Warcraft South Park episode, right? People aren't going to watch, like, a show where every guy looks like that, right? It's why even in, like, movies, to be, like, a movie star, even if you're, like, kind of big, you have to be, like, relatively attractive. You know what I mean? Because that's what people want to see. So that's why attractive characters are in things, because not only does sex sell, but people like looking at things that look nice. It's, like, literally that simple, you know?
I feel like I have another thought, but
I know I have another one, but I cannot remember it either. It's really pissing me off. It's actually really pissing me off. Then, do you have any thoughts?
Who are you?
You've already said it once this episode. Stop.
Twice.
What?
No, that was before recording.
Once to... No. That was in recording, but I meant once to me this episode. It's his third time saying it this episode.
Okay.
What did you say?
Grow up!
What?
I'm going to mute you on recording.
Okay, so...
Don't think I won't.
Maybe we'll remember it while we think of it. What are some pieces of art that you think have interesting takes on sex and sexuality? I mean, probably mostly anime and manga, but I guess in general would be helpful too.
I don't know.
I guess two that I can think of, or partly, one is more about a take, about the take, and one is the series itself. But with some of the MHA, where Horikoshi is a pedophile because he draws attractive teenage girls. But I remember one specific thing where, like, someone had it, like, was interested in it, like Toga, and someone called him out, and he's like, "Dude, I'm 15." Like, he likes this character attack sexually who is his age, and you know, you could say maybe he shouldn't be on Twitter. I don't know. I kind of wish that Twitter was just an 18+ website, or at least it had better protections and security and wasn't a fucking disaster. Right? But you know, so like in that case, it's like, you know, like people have sexual interests even at a younger age, and so Japan just being more accepting of that, like, because in Japan, being perverted and having a perverse mindset is seen as childish. It's something you're supposed to grow out of, right? So on some level, it's maybe, you know, it's accepted as like a child, as an aspect of childhood and childishness, which is why, especially in shonen series, sexuality shows up a lot. You know, but like, and it makes sense for art to like connect itself to people, and that's what's bringing me to the example is Mitsuno Moe, which is a shonen manga which takes place, like, the characters are 6th graders. And it's like, it's not like it is a very like sexual comedy. Like, the main characters are like triplets, and like one of them just really like, she really likes tits, you know, and like, but you know, if you're gonna have this series about these awkward, just like barely having puberty kids being interested in like, and you know, childish about sex and sexual topics, like, it just makes the most sense. Like, it's to appeal to the people who are going to like it most, who are going to be children going through that exact same shit, right? Which is one of the reasons I found the series interesting, because it's just like, you know, the fact that it's like for children and about children, yet still about sexual stuff is just, you know, I watched it, you know, years ago, like when I was relatively new to anime. And it just, you know, it was just a notable series for like, you know, hey, it's really fucking different in Japan, because obviously nothing like this remotely like that would fly in Western culture on any notable like platform or network, right?
Yeah.
That reminded me of something I was thinking about earlier today, actually, because I was reading Urusei Yatsura, and I was thinking the main character of that series would have been fucking perfect for the video you made on pervert characters, and I was like, I wish Crafts read this or watched
like,
it or whatever, because
it's
like he's one of the most perverted motherfuckers like ever, because it's like he in the series he has a girlfriend named Shinobu, and and she's like solidified his girlfriend, but he like literally can't resist like somewhat flirting with any girl who's pretty, and like and what I think is interesting about him though is like he kind of like his perversity is kind of like this it's almost this mechanism that kind of allows him to like lie to himself in a sense, because it's like
like he's pretending to not like his girlfriend as much, or
no, well, it's Lum who he's pretending not to like.
Okay, gotcha.
And like he has like legitimate commitment issues, and like I don't know, like I thought it was like kind of interesting, how he is, because like and like him lying isn't just to like others, like it's to himself. Like he doesn't even realize that he likes Lum, especially because of like what happens in the beginning. He's kind of fucking upset that she is essentially trying to be with him when he wants to be with Shinobu, and you know he's really fucking unlucky, and she's like kind of part of what's making his well, she's not like all of why he's unlucky, but it's like, you know, she was the first big thing that was like really unlucky for him, and you know, it's this whole thing, and I just thought it was like, you know, interesting. I don't know if that fucking contributed to the sexuality topic, but it just kind of reminded me.
Like sexual things for meaningful purpose. Well, I mean, as far as like, you know, meaningful purposes, like, yeah, that's just really common because it's just a commonly explored topic in Japanese media, and so like when it comes up, it's going to be like, you know, there's going to be instances like that where it's like, you know, meaningful and stuff, and and the series are commenting on, you know, the genre or just the tropes and stuff, and like, you know, which of course makes me think of Minazuki, who is a fucking madman, like an insane, crazy person who wrote like Sword no Toshimono, which is mostly like an ecchi comedy, and it's also like insanely good and well written, and like he knows what the fuck he's doing, and Plunderer, which, you know, it's mostly an action series, but it still has like ecchi stuff, and like, you know, like there's a meaningful moment where a character who she kicks with her legs Normally you don't see her panties, but then this one part you do see her panties, and it's actually like meaningful and
Let's
important,
go!
and it's fucking like big-brained and insane. So
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
I also can kind of I was also thinking about like Adventure Time a couple times during this discussion, and I just remembered how there's this like entire part of the show. Well, it's not like it's probably like a couple episodes
where it's more about the relationships than like sexual stuff, right? But
no, I actually think
right.
Adventure Time like has this whole thing. Like I was actually gonna say Adventure Time's like the closest example I can think of that actually kind of start like it does the most that it can within like a Western cartoon to actually be kind of like it's touching on the idea of sexuality, kind of sort of, because it's like Finn basically is like super down bad about Flame not being with Flame Princess anymore, and he like starts going around kissing all the princesses, and it's definitely kind of using that as like a substitute for him having sex with them, kind of,
or like you can
and especially with
sure.
the shit Jake says to him about the many steps you have to be in a relationship and stuff like that, and what's step 15. I think he said that, and even in the episode LSP is very much applied to have had sex with Finn, because she's like that she says something about like, oh, that's all I get, a kiss. No, I've been waiting for this. And she definitely fucks him, but it's like, you know, I was just thinking about like, you know, like Avengers Time obviously has a whole thing with that, and I haven't seen to the end of Adventure Time, so like I can't comment on what
how the relationship stuff goes.
Yeah, how that ultimately develops for Finn, but I do think it is exploring different things, and it kind of even manages to be like, I guess it could be like kind of uncomfortable, but in a good way, for kind of like how you should view Finn and like what he's going through. Probably, you know, for a kid, I would think. You know, I do kind of think it's interesting, and I guess I'm curious when I get to that stuff again, because I am rewatching it.
Yeah. Can you think of any series, Vindy, or anything that comes to mind that are interesting?
Yeah, I do have something that comes to mind. It's, again, something I haven't experienced, even though I'm talking about it yet again, which is comics. Because I think comics are the utopia for my ideal type of media. Because, like, I have seen so many cover pages and, like, pages of, like, girls in comics just being ridiculously hot, right? Like, unbelievably hot, you know? But then anytime people want to say like, oh, well, why are women so sexualized in comics? 1 second.
How many times has fucking Dick Grayson been raped?
Look at Nightwing's ass, okay? This man's got the fucking dumpy of the century.
He was asking
right
for
here,
it.
bro. All right? Okay. So, like, in comics, the guys are hot. The girls are hot. You know, it's all good, okay? Here's another page. I don't know what this is. I just looked up Nightwing ass. Nightwing has a bigger ass than the girl here, all right?
He really does.
Good.
It's so
objectively good.
Holy shit.
Objectively, the correct way that all media should be handled is Nightwing comics.
Yeah, if it's not good if the fucking guys aren't so hot, it's making you question things. Like
right. And I'm going to assume, you know, and I'm not, again, I haven't read Nightwing, so the Nightwing being raped and all that shit could be, like not that, you know, but could be very, like, not well overstated or not well handled in the media.
At least multiple times, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It could be handled very poorly, where it uses an excuse to shrug off male sexual assault. It could be used in a good way, right? Where it's legitimately, like, means something to characters and stuff like that. But really, I just wanted to mention, like, the fact that everyone's hot is what I want, and comics give me that, even though I don't read comics. The fact that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, also, speaking of comic book character sexuality, I actually just read a thread on the history of Supergirl. Not Supergirl, Power Girl, I think, yeah. She's the one who, she wears the, she has the boob window. Yes, and interestingly enough, for most of the character's history, she actually didn't have that. but because they like did a reboot and like brought it back, and they also commented on it more in the comics, even though she is like not the only or most sexualized like and attractive skin revealing outfit in DC. But like, and it was just like, yeah, it was kind of interesting to see how like, it's because it's kind of a meme around her character that like you have comics, because basically originally that the reason she had it was because it was part of her like original design too. It's because she's like in some way connected to Superman. But they didn't want to just put a big P on her fucking chest like Superman has the S because she's Power Girl. And so she has the boob window instead. And like I saw one comic page that was like, oh, I had this hole because I wanted something to fill it, and I never could find it. Which is, like,
I got something they can fill.
All right, like it was like a sad moment. You asshole. Oh, there's a hole I'll fill for you, motherfucker. That was funny. Fuck you. But yeah, so it's like that comics can do some meaning. I just haven't read that many at all. But I did read the one J.H. Williams Batwoman run that got canceled because DC didn't want Batwoman to have a homosexual love interest and get married to her. Wait,
fuck
you, DC. This was the New 52. This was the New 52 Batwoman run by J.H. Williams. That was the run, and then it got canceled because that she had a female love interest. Early 2010s, I believe, was when the New 52 was a thing.
Well, even recently, wasn't there some whole thing about people were saying Batman doesn't eat pussy or some shit like that? Like, what the fuck kind of cucked bullshit is that? Oh, my superhero would never eat pussy. Like, shut up.
I thought you were going to mention Clark Kent's son, who is bisexual, I guess, and people were, which wasn't the comic being a problem. It was people pissing a bitch fit when they don't even read comics and shit.
Yeah.
But
did you guys know about pink kryptonite?
Yes.
What did you say?
Do you know about pink kryptonite? Do you know about pink kryptonite?
No.
It makes Superman gay.
Oh, I thought it just made him horny, but okay.
No, it literally makes him gay.
That's see, there's something to be critical of.
I've seen pages. He has pink kryptonite, and then he starts flirting with Jimmy Olsen.
Oh my god.
And starts talking about like window like dressings and stuff.
Jesus
like his personality changes and he becomes gay.
That seems like some like really fucking
dated
old
shit. Yeah, that's some golden age fucking bullshit.
This art makes it look somewhat recent, like at least maybe this millennia.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Like that's not 60s comic art.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my god. Oh no, this is cursed.
Someone will know in the wait.
No, it looks I would guess 2000s if you like put a gun to my head.
Yeah,
maybe late 90s, but I feel like it's I would guess 2000s, but I also have no fucking clue.
Hold on, I'm doing detective shit. Give me a second.
Did I ever tell you how smashing you look in those bow ties, Jimmy?
Gulp. Gee, thanks.
It was 2003.
Okay, so I was right. Nice.
Yeah, Craftsdwarf has a homophobia radar.
Gulp. Gee, thanks. It's the opposite of a gaydar. Anyway, but and the other example I was going to bring up was how I guess another reason Japan is different. They have a massive community of eromanga and erotic fiction. Like one of the most important like RPGs is Rance, who is the whole premise. I don't know much about the premise aside from there like a dude who has like armor and green and red hair and he rapes women often.
Good music in the series though.
And this is like one of a majorly important franchise and it's super influential. Right, and then of course like never mind eromanga where it's just like doujins and H manga where it's just like there's lots of porn and therefore there's also and I've found like I've engaged in a few here or there and there are some I think are actually really interesting that I'll probably never get to talk about with unfortunate, but so it's just another like way that the the medium and like has evolved or had a way to evolve where compared Western porn is fucking boring. I don't know, I don't actually engage with it, so I'm not gonna say much. But yeah,
I mean, I have another Shears I could bring up, but I don't know if you
go for it.
Okay.
No, it's fine. We still haven't even hit an hour yet. You're good.
I actually think Rent a Girlfriend does it really well. Because it's like, I think Rent a Girlfriend is so just brutally honest with how it depicts Kazuya. Because it's like, I feel like people cringe too much about how he acts during the series. Who's
made to be cringe almost, or made to be honest, and which honest cringe is honesty. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, like I mean, I just think with how like we see him like jerk off in the series, or just kind of generally worry about getting cucked, like
well, and people are like down about the newest stuff. I'm not gonna go into it, but like there's literally a scene that's in the anime and in the early chapters where he's thinking about mommy now that they're broken up, and he thinks about her having sex and is like, wait, hold on, does this turn me on? Like that's like part of his character, right? Is like he's not that he's obsessed with sex. I think he thinks about it probably a healthy amount for a 20-year-old guy.
Yeah, I think people try to pretend too much that it's like, oh, they're never fucking like this ever. Like, no. And it's like
biologically your body is trying to be, right? Like that's just how like biology works. That's how natural selection works, right? Species who don't go through periods where they're absolutely horny 24/7 literally die. And that's not to say that everyone has to feel horny or like, you know what I mean? Because there are like asexual people, but like it's literally biology that like you get horny in your early 20s because that's when you're, or late teens because that's when you're most able to have a child. And so your inner biology.
He's at his physical peak. He is at prime baby making age. And so he's got like his body knows it and his, right. So yeah, that just makes sense.
What was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say now. Oh yeah, and it's like I think people react to it too strongly in the sense that it's like, even though it's like not to a T realistic, it's a fucking like in part playing it up because it's a fictional story. But it's like at the core, what's being presented with him is definitely like how someone can be like and especially like after actually having been able to read the newest chapter, I'm just gonna spoil it. I don't fucking care. Him thinking he got rejected by Mizuhara, it makes sense why he would act that way, because it's like anyone, even if they had like the strongest resolve to actually like try to make something happen, they will understandably be sad if they get turned down, if they truly like someone. Like he would be fucking weird if he didn't feel sad that a girl he liked seemingly to him turned him down. And I do think what happened there when I read the chapter made sense. And and I remember people talking about the page count of like, 8 pages of her getting fucked. And it does sound like a lot, 8 pages. And then like when I saw the Twitter, the tweets, when it's like 8 images you have to go through on Twitter, it seems slower because it's like, you fucking look at the first 4 and then you exit and then you look at the next 4. So it seems like a lot. But when I was reading it, it was just like, I just scrolled through it. It's like, okay. It reads really fast. And it's like, it didn't come off at all like how fucking like when I actually saw the pacing in the manga, it made sense, and it was like perfectly fine. And I actually think
not a website for manga reading. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually thought it was a good chapter, and I kind of really appreciate how Rent a Girlfriend treats Kazuya.
I'm actually so mad about this Rent a Girlfriend bullshit. It actually baby molds me so hard because it's a mix. It's a mix of a bunch of different things, right? Part of it is people disrespecting harem series. And people always want to have a harem series that they can look down on and laugh at. I don't know why. It makes them feel better about how empty their lives are. There's some armchair psychology for you. But people like to always have this harem manga, right? It was Nisekoi for a long time. It was Quint. It's Rent a Girlfriend right now, right? And it's 90% of the people I've seen talk about it. Anyone I've said something to, a lot of them just go, well, I haven't read it. Then shut the fuck up. Nobody gives a shit what you have to say. First of all, I don't care. Look, even though these motherfuckers on Twitter talking, they got like 5,000 followers, none of them actually care what you have to say. Okay, they might pretend like they do, but their lives are empty. That's why they care what people on Twitter think. Okay? Nobody actually gives a shit what you're saying about this fucking manga, especially if you haven't read it. Shut the fuck up. And then it's like they didn't even learn because they were talking all this shit from fucking spoiler pages. They couldn't even wait for the chapter to be translated. It's like fucking clockwork. It happens with every goddamn series, every time. And I haven't even read the chapter yet, but I just started responding to people with just like the most passive-aggressive bullshit because I'm so tired of everyone's fucking bullshit. Like, I was responding to people saying that, like, oh, like I said to the Craftsdwarf, I was like, oh, it's Nisekoi 2.0. Everyone's dog shit stupid about it while it's running. Grow up. Because it is. That's what it fucking is. Like, it's not that bad. Wait for the fucking plot line to finish and actually see, first of all, see the full fucking chapter instead of just not even half of it. 8 pages isn't even fucking half a goddamn chapter, right? It's under that. So wait till at least read the full chapter and then wait till the fucking arc that we're in a climax of where like major shit happened the chapter before so we know what's happening. Then now wait for like 2, 3, 4 more chapters and like the arc to kind of go somewhere before you start saying this chapter is bad. Also, one chapter being bad doesn't mean anything if it's like not the best chapter to read weekly because it's a fucking 10th of the volume that's like a 20th of the series.
I like this run a girlfriend rant in my sexuality fucking topic Weeb Club. I'm not complaining about it. It was a good rant.
It fucking makes me so mad. Also, why would you complain to begin with? Because those 8 pages of her getting railed are fucking hot.
I think we should end it there.
Yeah.
Did you ever think... Did you ever say the thing you couldn't remember, Vindy?
No,
yeah, it was about comics.
Oh, I couldn't remember the thing I was thinking about.
Yeah, mine was about comics. It was about Nightwing's ass.
Oh,
so.
Okay.
So at this point, we would talk about the series. A double reminder. Yeah, the poll's going. I know it's winning. I don't even know when that show is airing.
Can you tell me? Can you DM it? Can you type it right now? Can you type it? I want to know.
Sure. I'll just say, yeah. I mean, patrons can just fucking check the polls, but whatever.
No. They don't get to know. I don't even know. That sounds racist.
I mean, I could say what it is.
That's literally a racist title. What is this? It's an adaptation of a shonen manga that runs in weekly.
Girl, not guy. None.
Okay, dude.
Oh, okay. Well, she's fucking racist with a title like that. Why can't we watch this Studio Dean Boys Love show instead?
It does look neat, but anyway. Weekly, double weekly. No, I know we're not doing a double rotation, but I was more thinking because we have 2 weeks of possible things to discuss. None goes first.
Who are you?
Yes.
Who are you?
Oh shit. I don't know.
He fucking got your ass.
I mean, I've mostly been watching fucking Pokemon, so it's not like I have fucking anything new.
I would say we could talk about that, but I would like to get personally further into Kanto before we talk about it on the Weeb Club.
I already talked about it a little bit in something, so
okay. Was there anything before that?
I know of one thing, but I don't know if you guys want to talk about it on the Weeb Club. Or if Vindy's
if it's what I am trying to force myself to not just say I'm going to talk about it because I didn't finish the other thing I thought I would. But the only reason I wouldn't talk about it is specifically because I would want to go into spoilers, and I don't know if we want to put like a thing on,
the thing I'm talking about. I think it'd be better
to do it and then in a backlog and then do spoil. Okay, well,
so I mean, the things I could talk about is I don't know if did I talk about the Spider-Man manga on the last weekly.
I'm pretty sure you talked about it somewhere.
So
no,
there's that.
Maybe it was just on the Discord. Or no, I don't think it's...
No, you have not talked about it. I have not heard your thoughts on it at all.
Okay. I've been reading A Kame ga Kill. I read some Urusei Yatsura, but I talked about it a little bit earlier. I don't know. I guess I could talk about the fucking Spider-Man manga. It's been a little bit, though. So I read the 70s Spider-Man manga.
How long was it again? 2 volumes? Or
I think
was
it's like
it longer?
5.
5
Let me
volumes.
look
Okay.
at it. Oh no, it's according to Mal, it's 8. That seems weird, but I don't fucking know.
You might have read compiled volumes. If
Yeah,
it was
I know. I
official
did
English
read when it
release.
had a bunch of pages on the like instead of having like fucking like 20 something pages or whatever, it had like 200 pages or
Oh, that's just the whole last volume. Yeah.
180 something pages.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It would change a little bit, but it was over 100 usually. So I mean, at first when I was reading it, I thought it was fine because like it does seem like the base like I don't want to say no. It seems kind of like Toku-ish and because it's definitely similar to what I read of Kamen Rider for the Kamen Rider podcast, like,
And knowing how they adapted it for the live action series, like, that was the first character to have a piloted robot, right, in Japanese media. So,
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
To my understanding, because I do believe it predated like Super Sentai and some other, and other because there were remote controlled robots like Gigantor and stuff like that, but not piloted ones. So I've heard that. I don't know if 100% if it's true because this was an old take and there might have been less knowledge about like sci-fi stuff and live act tokusatsu and stuff. But I do remember hearing that.
But the way it reminded me of Kamen Rider was how it treated Peter Parker's super. Well, he wasn't Peter Parker in this. He was fucking I'm pretty sure.
Me?
He was me.
I
No.
can be. Everyone can be Spider-Man because you're Spider-Man. You are Spider-Man.
But the way it treated his superpowers, it was one of those things where he feared becoming inhuman because of it, and the
That's
other
very
people
Kamen
who
Rider,
had
yeah.
superpowers, it kind of like even though there are different powers and not Spider-Man powers, they still treat it in that different kind of. I mean, in that same kind of way where they could be inhuman and they're doing all these things because they have powers. So it was definitely very Kamen Rider, and like it kind of had them be like two sides of the same coin. And especially later on, it gets into that because there's another guy who he essentially gives like he needed blood, and you gave up his blood, and that guy ended up gaining Spider-Man powers, but he was bad and he did stuff. So yeah, that was the way in which it reminded me of Kamen Rider. And I thought it was like fine. Like I wasn't super into it at first, but I didn't dislike it. But what I ended up really not liking was kind of how the story, each volume or each chapter, really, because it's not like just a fucking... The story arcs don't last an entire volume necessarily. So like each chapter, each couple chapters, he would just like meet someone new, and it would have like... It would just kind of insert you into a new scenario, like another scenario with another new character. And it's kind of like, it doesn't always not that it doesn't make sense for him to meet these new people, but it's kind of just like, it kind of just inserts you into like, he meets this guy for the first time who he gives his blood to, or, he gets mixed up with this, guy in a gang and he gets like really attached to him. Well, that one was actually pretty good. I don't have like a complaint with that, but it's just like it's kind of like it always puts him into these new scenarios kind of suddenly in each different chapter, and I just didn't ever like it kind of didn't make me super care about everything. No, it's not like it's definitely not just episodic because it does have like things carry over.
No, I meant more like just episodic and like, because like each new thing, like, even though, things carry over and like Kamen Rider and more, but there's still like each chapter is its own thing, right?
It is kind of sort of like that. And like I didn't have a problem, like I kind of didn't have a problem with him not being like Peter Parker because he's very much not like Peter Parker. He kind of just feels like a completely different person who happens to have Spider-Man powers.
Right.
And how they depict things is very different because it's like, even with like Spider Sense, like they do this kind of weird thing where like when he has his Spider Sense going off, you see a bunch of Spider-Man masks like around his head and like in the background and stuff. Kind of like and I actually think it's cool because it's like kind of like in this, it has more of a separation between, like, you know, this is who I could become. So it's like kind of like this, like the spider, like it kind of treats the Spider-Man part of him kind of differently, I would say. And I think the biggest problem I ended up having with the manga was like the later stuff that I did mention, like how it takes this it's fucking weird. It really takes this like very not optimistic fucking approach to end the story.
That's what I remember you talking about, and
yeah, because it's like the second to final chapter, there's this woman who has this power that makes people go under her like control, and it kind of it essentially ends up making the school is that very violent, and there's the upperclassmen and the lowerclassmen and the fighting, and eventually it spreads throughout the city and like throughout all of Japan, and everything's like going to chaos and stuff. And you think you at first doesn't want to kill her, and he thinks you at first he doesn't want to kill her, and then he thinks he has to, and then when he meets her and realizes, oh, this power of hers isn't actually her fault, and like it's kind of like this power that just activates, and she really doesn't want it to happen, and then she just kind of dies in the end, and then it's like, oh, okay. He doesn't kill her. I forget what the fuck killed her, but she just ends up dying. And then the chapter after that was really the one that was weird as shit, because like another lady had some power that acted out on its own and is essentially getting revenge on people who did her wrong. And you ends up just basically supporting that, and he's like, the society wronged. I forget how he said it. I don't want to like fucking quote it, but he basically just says, like, he basically justifies it, and the whole narration at the end's like, there's essentially saying there's monsters inside of all of us, the people are inherently dark or evil or whatever, and it was just really fucking weird that it just went to that from how it started. And there's just a lot of weird stuff in there. Like,
it sounds pretty cynical for a Spider-Man property, right?
Yeah, I really did not like that. And before that point, I did like it less, because I thought I was just like not into it, and like it was just kind of not really getting much better, so I just kind of wanted to finish. And then that was like what really was just like, okay, dude, I don't like this because of that. Yeah, it was just weird. That was a thing I read. I should pull up that page, because I just, the fucking speech at the end about that, it's kind of fucking funny thinking about it now. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, like it has this whole, oh yeah, and the thing about the powers that lady has, her powers end up responding with Yu's powers, with his Spider-Man powers, and it makes the thing that's going after people, which is a tiger, stronger and like more visible, and it gave her so much power, and okay, it says everyone keeps a tiger in their heart. It is human karma itself. And then the tiger, the very last panel is the tiger looking directly into the eyes of your soul. And it says, look at me. This is the true form of humans. This bloody beast within ourselves. Spider-Man end. I don't know. I just spoiled it, so nobody gets the reaction of fucking, like, if they read this, they won't get the reaction of that, but That's weird.
Sounds like a manga.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd be interested in seeing someone else read it. I did see someone else mention that they hate it, but that was only one person I've seen who's read it as well. So,
I think I read some of it because there was an old like English release of it, but it was probably only like the first volume, so not a lot.
So is it my turn?
I know there's other like strange stuff, but I can't really remember at this point. Yeah, it's your turn.
Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So I guess I will talk about the Santa Claus 1 and 2. And I did talk about these on stream a little bit, but I watched them because I was, I was home for Christmas with my family. We watched some Christmas movies. So have either of y'all ever seen either of these movies?
Not on purpose.
Okay, Craftsdwarf,
No, I
so
haven't.
you have seen them, or
On,
okay,
like,
but you
TV
haven't.
in the
So you haven't
background,
actually watched.
paying
Okay.
attention.
These movies are fucking insane. All right, first of all, okay, first Santa Claus movie. All right, kind of simple, kind of whatever. Right. So this guy Tim Allen kills Santa Claus. All right, scares him off the roof. Santa falls. Santa's fucking dead. All right. So then what happens is there's the Santa Claus, not the clause, the like legal thing, not the clause, the whatever, like Santa. Yeah. So that is that if you kill Santa, you have to be Santa.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tim Allen's like, all right, I guess I'll be Santa for tonight. Right. He's Santa. Then it's like a fucking horror movie. This next year of his life. So there's like the first 15, 20 minutes is this first Christmas. All right. He meets the elves. The elves don't even care that Santa died that night. He must have been a slave driver. I know the previous Santa was going around like whipping people and shit because they're just happy that there's a new Santa. They seem to not give a fuck about the old Santa at all. And so then it's like over the next year, Tim Allen's like gaining weight. He doesn't know why. He goes to a doctor. The doctor's like, I don't know. His hair's turning white and growing long. He's growing a beard. There's a scene where he shaves his beard and new hair comes in as he's shaving it. It's very fucking, it's actually like a horror movie, right? So he starts to look like Santa. His son goes to he's divorced, right? So the son in the divorce goes to the mom and the stepdad, Neil. Neil's a fucking asshole, by the way. And he's like, Mom and Neil, Dad's Santa Claus. And he took me to the North Pole. And they're like, did you give our son drugs? And then as he starts to look more and more like Santa the next year, his wife and stepdad start to think he's doing it on purpose. And they're like, gonna fucking kill him. Or something. It's a whole shit show, right? And or not, they're gonna kill him, but they're whatever. Then Tim Allen kidnaps his son for a month because they're trying to take custody away. So he just technically, an elf kidnaps Santa's son, but Tim Allen Santa goes with the son, or with the elf and the son back to the North Pole to prepare for Christmas. Okay. And then they do Christmas, and his parents, like the kid's parents, so Tim Allen's Santa Claus's ex-wife is like, I know they're coming to this house on Christmas. So they get the cops at the house on Christmas, like a fucking SWAT team's chilling in the house. He comes down the chimney, and they arrest him. They arrest Santa. So then the SWAT team, tactical elves, whatever the fuck, go in. They like kill a cop and break Santa out of prison. It's like a whole thing, okay? So that's pretty much the first movie. The second movie is when it gets wild.
The elf kills a cop, and that's the end of the movie.
No, because then they break Santa out. Then he goes and he flies around. He's like, Merry Christmas. And then Neil's like, oh my God, you are Santa. It's a whole thing. It sucks. Second movie's wild, though. Okay, so in the fine print in the Santa Claus says that Santa has a year after fully becoming Santa, which is the year after the Claus happened. He's got a year to find a Mrs. Claus. And for some reason, nobody decided to tell him this until like 5 days before Christmas. Also, his son, now a delinquent. He's grown up. Nobody believes his dad is Santa. Nobody else believes in Santa anymore. We're not even going to discuss how the logistics work that people don't believe in Santa in a world where Santa's giving everyone presents every Christmas. But that's besides the point. So his son's like, he's a bad boy now. He's like spray painting like a Christmas tree with like a line through it. No, this is the second one. With like a line through it. He's a delinquent, right? In all sorts of trouble with the hot blonde principal. And Santa needs a wife. Wonder what's going to happen there. So Santa has to go, this close to Christmas, has to go back home and deal with his son who's on the naughty list and find a wife and stuff. So he goes home to try and do all that. And in his place, they build a Robo Santa. They build Mecha Santa so that he can keep all the elves happy and working while real Santa's back in America. Okay? And then Robo Santa becomes Hitler. I'm not kidding. Hold on. So then Robo Santa becomes Hitler, all right, while normal Santa is trying to find a Mrs. Claus. Robo Santa becomes evil and Hitler, and he makes a bunch of big robot toy soldiers, and they like throw all the elves into like concentration camps or some shit. And then Tim Allen's Santa goes back, and him and this Santa have a fight. Oh, and Comet the reindeer gets fat in the Santa Claus too because he starts eating all the candy. It's a whole... the movie was a whole thing. But really, I just wanted to talk about it to say the line, and then Robo Santa becomes Hitler because it blew my mind.
All right. Are you finished?
Yeah. We didn't watch the third one. We should have, but we did not have time on Christmas.
Watch it for next week. Don't.
No.
Don't.
Christmas is over.
So I'm not fully caught up because the third finale movie did just recently get subtitled, and I have it downloaded already, and also the movie special. I watched Girls in Panzer, which is 2012, so almost 10-year-old fucking anime, cute girls anime, and tanks, and it's actually really fucking good. I watched the first episode. I was just really shocked that the show is just as well made as it is. Because it's the kind of thing where it's like, this is maybe dumb and silly, but no, it's actually like really well made and thought out, and it's a sports anime. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, the sport is mock tank battles with live ammo. They kind of hand wave, like the main character's like sticking out. It's like, you might get hit, and she's like, oh, people almost never get shot in like tank battles. I'm like, but you mentioned you use live ammo. What happens when they do get shot? Do they fucking like? What's the mortality rate in the fucking Senshoto, please? And no, but so that's like an example where they just kind of like hand wave it, but like they do like. So let's put it this way, like one of the early matches, they end up going into the city, and like a fucking house just gets destroyed, and cuts to the crowd, and the dude's like, my hat, my shop, I can get a new one now. Like, I guess it just gets paid for. Like they actually like think of some of the like logical problems with the thing, and just it's like, yeah. It gets taken care of, and it's basically sport. Yeah, like I said, it's sport anime where they have the tank battles, and there's some wild shit that happens, especially in like the movies, or like specifically one of the OVAs. Two tank crews on the enemy side, like I can only describe it as tank fencing, where they're like using
they're like smacking the barrels together
to try and not, so that they can't get shot in point blank range, basically, and they're like trying to shoot each other, but they're also like fencing with the it was fucking nuts, and I was losing my fucking mind. And the probably like the arcs are good. I think it's pretty good visually and well directed. Like it uses like first person shots from the tank a lot, which are really dynamic and cool. The CG, I mean, it's very blatant CG, but I also think like it's kind of necessary because it's like the tanks are really detailed. And like if it was like hand drawn animated, they wouldn't be able to do the shit they do. And I think I think it works. But I think one of my favorite parts is the comedy. This show is fucking funny as shit. I was laughing quite a bit. And it's definitely a kind of like snappy humor where they'll just kind of hit you with a joke and just keep going. Like there's one early one that stood out to me because it just kind of happened with the where like the student council president, who's also the de facto like school leader of the club, not the captain, but the excuse me. She's like short, so she tries to get on his tank, but she can't, so she like snaps her fingers, and the vice president comes down and acts as a human like step stool and helps her get up onto the tank. And like it just happens, like, and then it's not commented on, it just moves on. And there's some wild shit, like the movie had the first movie has some pirate characters who are in this at their school, and they're a full fucking weird bunch of weirdos, and they're great, and they get into it was weird. The funniest part that I have to explain, because like Girls in Panzer has mind broken me because it made me like the French. So to explain what I mean by that.
Were you?
Well, because the teams, a lot of teams are inspired from different nationalities. Like the first one they fight is like they're England, they're proper ladies, and then there's like a Russian one who are the team cat leader is like a fucking goblin, who she's like, she'll take a 3-hour recess in the middle of the match to have a snack and a nap. She's sunk. But anyway, so the French team, the angle they go with it is the like French Revolution. So there's like they see their school and it's literally like half divided, and there's like a fucking slum for the poor, and then there's like a fucking high class like wealthy estate. And so there's one running gag where one of the characters in the main characters group, she goes to spy on the other schools for information, and then she shows them the video as a form of documentary. As like with her commentary over it as she like so then like there's one shot where where the two sides are like arguing with each other and the camera's like swapping between them, and I'm like, wait, this probably she has in order to film this herself, she has to be there on the ground like swapping the camera between the two perspectives, and they're just kind of ignoring her. And then they start the fighting, and then as they like rush into each other, you hear her start like yelling out in pain as she gets trampled, and I was fucking like she's just so stupid. But then there's an OVA because it turns out that the whole feud, like it actually had been resolved, and they were merely pretending to trick the enemy team basically. And so they knew that she was a spy, and so like she's making this footage that she's going to turn into like a fake movie to show her the rest of her team, and they're like staging scenarios for her to film. And so like you see it from their perspective, and you just see her like an asshole like crawl into their like argument, and like her camera's like, as you see, it is hilarious. I was losing my mind. Girls and Pandas is really good. I guess another cool thing that it does is like I don't know, there especially there was one fight where like there's like two characters having a conversation in the background, and they just mentioned that, oh yeah, tanks, a man in a tank, that's a weird image, like because it's like only done by girls, only cute girls do senshado and tank battles basically, and that actually like works into one of the fights where like the femininity, like the things they have from like basically like when the enemy team is using like a system to like eavesdrop on their radio calls between the tanks, basically they get around that by using a cell phone, which is kind of like a mark of a teenage girl almost, right? And so they use their femininity to counter like traditional wartime tactics, and it's actually like a really interesting and good series, and I want to check out the third movie or the third finale movie. There's Girls in Pan, there's the movie, and then there's the 6-part finale series that is still ongoing. Yeah, really good anime. Not that long either. It's only like 12 episodes, 4 released movies, and then 6, 7, 8, 9 specials, which are less than an average episode. But
the first time I ever heard of Girls in Panzer was a guy I was friends with in middle school that was like, or no, high school, that was the guy that everyone knows that's like super World War II obsessed, only plays like World of Tanks, that kind of thing. And he was a big World of Tank or Girls in Panzer fan, and that was like one of the only anime I ever heard him talk about.
No, it's very much like, I understand, because like there's whole ass specials where the tank nerd of the crew of the group basically like just explains that more about the tanks, that like because they use actual like real to life accuracy tanks, and will like mention how there's certain qualities of the tanks, like this one's really slow and big, or this one's just shit. Like it falls apart. It's just and like they'll mention trivia and details like that, and they tend to be like, again, they're based off of different nations sometimes. So like the Russian team uses Russian tanks and such. Yeah, so like I can understand why a military nerd or a tank nerd would be pretty into Girls and Panzer, because at least if it wasn't made by military nerds, they found some to help make the show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the only two things I ever heard that guy talk about were World of Tanks and Girls and Panzer. So to me, that show will always be associated with him.
Yeah, okay, I got you. No, and I'd recommend checking it out. It's really good and funny, and I liked it. So, what might we talk about next week? What are you guys up to as far as watching or reading stuff?
I will probably talk about Yakuza 1 because, or Kiwami, I guess. I thought I'd be able to talk about it this week.
Are you playing? You're playing the original or the remake?
The remake. I'm not gonna.
Okay, gotcha.
I don't like PS2 emulators. And the original was the only game in the series that was like the original version of 1 was the only game in the series that was dubbed. And the outside of Mark Hamill being Goro Majima. What I've heard of the dub is not great.
I was going to try and play the originals if I ever got to the franchise, but now I might at least play the first remake and then play...
A lot of what I've heard is that Kiwami is a very good remake of 1 and doesn't affect things. I've heard mixed things about Kiwami 2 to
maybe it was... Because I've heard that one of them, like, does... At Mijima or Majima? What's his name?
Majima.
Yeah, I've heard, like, one of them adds stuff to him that makes sense in regards to how he is in the franchise, but doesn't make sense with how he is in the original game that he shows up in, and that like how it portrays him. Basically.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know which one that is, but I do know that
maybe I was misheard. And
both Kiwami and Kiwami 2, from my understanding, add things from Yakuza 0 into both of their characters.
Gotcha.
Like there's a sub story in 1 that I didn't do the sub story for 0 in, but the sub story in 1 is a sequel to the sub story in 0, which is like a really cool thing that. But the only reason I'm not sure if I'm finishing is because I'm not trying to 100% the game, but I'm trying to do a lot of stuff, including all of the Majima stuff. And some of it is very luck and grindy based, and so if I don't get that, because you need to do it to like, I'll talk about it actually in more, but you need to do it to get like the Kiryu's form of like fighting, like his fighting style, which I want because I think it's super sick and I want to be able to use it in the final boss, like I have it fully powered up. But there's a lot of like grinding and bullshit I need to do to make that happen. So that's the only reason I wouldn't finish the game, because I'm an hour away from the end of the story, but I have been for the last 10 hours of playtime. So.
I might talk about. I might wait to talk about Metroid Prime until I finish Metroid Prime 3, and then I could just talk about all 3 of them. I was thinking about In This Corner of the World, but I don't know. I kind of talked about it with a friend, so I'm not sure if I want to talk about it on the Weeb Club. Might talk about, I rewatched Bakemonogatari, and I have one more Kizumonogatari film left, so maybe I'll wait until I watch more of that. So, I don't know. I don't know yet what I'll talk about. What about you, Nun?
I don't know, because all I'm going to do is play Pokemon and watch Pokemon, so... And the other thing I'm watching is for a different podcast, so I can't fucking talk about that either.
Okay, so I guess that about covers it. So we will see you next week. Don't forget to vote in the poll if you haven't already, and goodbye.